everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. I'm Jo Michaels, the baking author, and today we're making puff pastry. The reason we're making puff pastry is because I have some Brie cheese that I want to wrap in a puff pastry with some sweeties. So we'll be doing that in addition to this, but we're going to start with a puff pastry. Now, that being said, I have made rough puff. I have never made traditional 100% puff pastry. So bear with me as we kind of walk through this. I will link this recipe down below. It says that all I need is 8 ounces of butter, cold butter obviously, 2/3 of a cup of ice water, which I have, 2 cups of all-purpose flour plus 1 tablespoon and a teaspoon of salt. It doesn't say coarse salt, so I'm just going to do a teaspoon of coarse salt. Into my bowl, I have to mix my flour and my salt, and then we pour it out and go from there, which makes me kind of nervous, but we'll see. Okay, so let's just do this. All right, we're gonna start with our all-purpose flour, and it says to put the 2 cups and the salt into a bowl and mix it together first. So we're gonna do that. There's 1 cup. And I'm just going to use my teaspoon for the tablespoon and just do 3 teaspoons because we all know how much I love dishes, and if I can save them, more's the better. Fill in all the gaps in my cup here. All right, that's 2 cups. It doesn't really look like a lot of flour. I'm guessing I'm making a half a recipe, but it should be enough to wrap my Brie in. I'm going to go ahead and add my teaspoon of salt and then my extra tablespoon of flour. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Alright, gonna use my spoon if I can find it, and just give this a mix round to really mix that flour in with that salt. Make sure it's evenly distributed. Now it says, turn it out onto your work surface in a pot. There's a pot. And it says, run your fingers down the center to create a trough. Sprinkle 1 tablespoon of water into the trough. That's where my teaspoon's going to come in handy yet again. So we're going to do 3. This is like really cold water. 2. It's running. 3. And it ran out. Yikes. Okay. Now it says, quickly fluff the dough with your fingers, keeping your fingers loose and using a scooping motion. So I'm guessing I'm supposed to kind of do it like this. Making it up as we go along here. I'm just reading the instructions. I'm excited to try puff pastry actually because I've never done it. So, all right, I'm making another trough. Gather the flour back into a mound. Make another trough. Add another tablespoon of water. It says continue sprinkling and fluffing until the flour clumps together in large pieces and holds together when pressed. Okay, let's do that. I got a better trough that time. Almost like a well. Now I'm tossing the flour on top of it. This works much better. The other one was kind of like running everywhere. I'm thinking it doesn't want me to knead it, and that's what we're trying to avoid. And the cold water keeps the gluten from activating, because hot water, as you know, makes your bread a little sticky fun. I do actually have my bowl scraper that I'll be using as a bench scraper to get this into my plastic wrap once I get all the water in there. So I used a regular 1 cup measuring cup and added some ice to it. And then poured that out into this cup to measure 2/3. That way I didn't have to worry about like straining the ice off. All right, I can see some chunks starting to form. That's a good thing. Usually I just buy the puff pastry from the store because it's easier, but this is a good learning experience. So the time that I made rough puff, I just grated the butter on a cheese grater, mixed it in with my flour, and kind of went from there, which was an interesting outcome, but I mean it did what it was supposed to do. It rose in the oven. The reason there's no yeast in this is because your butter is your leavener. So those layers of butter between the flour are what bring that's what makes puff pastry puff. And then you get these super duper awesome flaky layers, almost like pie crust between them. It's yummy. Look at me sniffing again. I did take Benadryl, so I hope I'm not sniffing too much on you guys today. My allergies are crazy right now. I don't usually have allergies, but this weather back and forth is making my sinuses nuts. It's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold. I'm like, make up your mind, man. Make up your mind. Making me crazy. Anyway. Almost done with my water. I probably have 3 more of these. Gather well, gather well, gather well things. Just gotta toss it. Can't really wait for the water to run out. There's still a lot of dry flour in there too, so I'm not pushing on it. I'm just tossing it with my fingers. They did say once this is done, it's going to look shaggy, but that's not a problem because once we pound it out with the butter. They said a French rolling pin, like you need a specific kind of rolling pin to pound something. I mean, come on. You can do it with a regular rolling pin. I have all this flour stuck to my finger. Anyway, okay, let's move on. I'm going to use my mama's old rolling pin, which is not a French rolling pin. It's just a regular rolling pin. So, hoity-toity French rolling pins. You must have French rolling pins. We are the only ones who can make the pastry. Yeah, whatever. I don't buy it, not for a second. Well, this is looking pretty good. I have like maybe a tablespoon of water left, so maybe it will pick up the rest of the flour. Probably will. We shall see, shan't we? We shall see, shan't we? Yes, I know. I'm a hot mess. And probably one of the weirdest people you'll ever meet. It's okay, I own it. I own it. I like being me. I like being my weird. My version of weird is the best kind of weird because it's weird with purpose. I do have purpose. My purpose is to entertain people, feed them. I really enjoy doing those things. And you know, YouTube wasn't around when I was a kid. Though that would have been amazing. Because I would have been like all over YouTube. I always wanted to be an actress too. Like back in the day. Man, that was my dream. But then I was like, you know, I was a pretty good writer, so I wrote the stories. I'll never forget the first short story of mine my mother read. I gave it to her. I'd written it overnight because I didn't really sleep when I was a teenager, so I give it to her the next morning. And she reads it. And she looks, she's drinking her coffee. She puts her coffee cup down like, and she looks at me and she says, okay, that was scary. I was like, that's awesome, yay. Okay, scared the crap out of my mom. I think I was 12. She was like, this is a really good story, sweetheart. I had this horrible dream and woke up and wrote the story, so it was from my dream. It was titled The Fear of Death. Go figure. Now I write serial killer novels. How fun is that? And of course, baking cookbooks. I know you guys appreciate that. This whole pandemic thing, man, just got me baking because I started to think, you know, there was no bread on the store shelves, and I was like, I bet I could make that. And then all the yeast disappeared. But I had yeast, so I got lucky. I had just found it on clearance sale at Kroger. It was like $2 for a jar. So I bought it, and I polished off those 2 jars, and now I'm on the next part that I bought. I bought like a bag of it from Amazon. It was not dead. It had not gotten too hot in anybody's truck yet. So, score. My yeast worked. So that's good. I just keep refilling the jar though. From the packet, like the 1 pound packages. Alright, this is holding together. I'm not smashing it or anything. I'm just putting it all in the plastic wrap like the directions say. And then we're going to fridge it for 30 minutes. This is not a fast process. If you were doing something else, that's good because you're going to be doing it again here in just a little bit. Alright, I'm just going to kind of smash this a little bit so it holds together. And then I'm going to wrap it up real tight, like so. Whoa, don't come unstuck, Nancy. We're going to call this bread dough Nancy. She will be our little Nancy. Alright. Kind of looks like this. I know you can't probably see that, but I mean, it's shaggy. It's got some dry flour in there still. What I'm guessing is for the 30 minutes it's in the fridge, all that flour is going to absorb all that extra water, and it will become like one cohesive ball of dough. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I'm going to tuck this in the fridge, and I will see you guys. I'll clean up this, obviously. I will see you guys in about 30 minutes. My butter is in the freezer. You need 2 sticks, 8 ounces. Use unsalted butter. Use good butter, because this is going to be like most of your flavor in the butter. So get the butter, and then I'll see you guys in 30 minutes. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back. We are back to our puff pastry. I have some butter that I popped in the freezer for just a little while. Still very cold. We're gonna do what it says here. This is not a French rolling pin. French rolling pin does not have handles on it. This is a regular rolling pin. Southern cooks have them. This is what we're gonna use. This was my mama's rolling pin. Used to have 2. I got rid of 1. I kept the oldest one because memories. Anyway, things that you pass down to your daughter. Okay. I'm gonna unwrap my butter. And then we gotta pound it out. I know, sounds crazy, right? We just have a little bit left on our dough, which is chilling in the fridge. It says 20 minutes. I love Siri. Okay. It says cut it into a few large pieces. Then we have to wrap it in plastic wrap. My plastic wrap is gone. Let me get my plastic wrap. I'll be right back. I don't know why I put it away, but I did. It was back in the cabinet. Okay. This says, cut the butter into a few large pieces and sprinkle with a teaspoon of flour. A few large pieces. I'm going to guess that I can just, my God, they're cold. Cut them in half, maybe? And this is where our bench scraper is going to come in handy because it says scrape them up with a bench scraper. Scrape them up. You're going to scoop up your butter. So basically what you're doing here, you don't want your butter to melt while you're doing this. That's why you have to start with cold butter. What you're doing is getting your butter super flat so that you can fold it into your dough, right? So that cold dough is going to take, you have to like lay a slab of butter in the middle of it. I know it sounds really unhealthy, and it probably is, but we're not using margarine, so pray for us. Ooh, that one came out nice. Look, ooh. Let me show you. Those are almost exactly the same size. Bam. I like it. Okay. So now it says, pound the butter with a French rolling pin to soften it. We're not going to do a French rolling pin. Soften the butter. Alright, I guess I'm going to have to put just a little flour on my counter to keep this stuff from sticking. Boom, butter. That butter is huge. Boom, boom, butter. Sprinkle it with a teaspoon of flour, we're guessing. I'm guessing that's just so it does not stick to my rolling pin. Not the French kind. I'm pounding butter. Boy, this is good for your anger issues if you have them. Alright, it says pound it, use a pastry scraper to gather it up, pound it again. This could be fun. You could probably use, a large branch or a tree to do this as well. As long as you're not, too annoyed with it and you don't get too excitable. Alright, this is where my bench scraper is going to come in handy, because we're just going to scrape this butter all back into a pile, and we're going to pound it out again, because that was kind of fun. I did actually enjoy the heck out of that. I'm putting the liquidy sides together, and I'm just flipping this one over. Alright, butter gathered. Let's give her a fold, shall we? We're going to fold her just like that. It didn't say to do that, but I think that would work. I mean, it is butter. We are having some fun. Okay, I'm going to drop a little bit more flour on my board. It says sprinkle it with another little teaspoon of flour. Let's flip it over. Melting faster than a snowman in a sauna. Here we go, we're pounding it out again. I think the basic idea here is to work a little flour into your butter and, oh, darn, and also make your butter like cohesive so you can put it in that one big rectangle of fun that is your puff pastry dough. I know, now I'm just going crazy, which is okay because this is fun. Bench scraper, well, bowl scraper, but same difference, right? Right. And we're just gonna give her a fold. Making a nice square. I mean, it was square to begin with. I don't know why we did all that, except maybe to work that flour into the butter. Gotta love the fact that I have the buttered flour on my counter here. This is gonna be fun. My butter's starting to get warm, so I gotta work a little faster. What I don't want is it sticking to everything and then getting gelatinous on me. So I'm guessing, because this is kind of a square, it says a 10 by 10 inch square. It says, continue pounding and gathering until the butter is very pliable and does not break when you fold it over on itself. Pound, 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 pound. I probably should add some more flour to my rolling pin because the butter is coming off on it again. I don't like it. Not at all. Please, may I have some more? Yes, you can. Okay, flour. Flour. And flour. Fun stuff, man. feel like I'm melting my butter a lot. I don't like that feeling. I'm pretty sure that's not the goal of this. But it says very pliable. It does not break when you fold it over on itself, which is kind of a misnomer because it's cold and now it's getting warm. So of course it's going to become more pliable. I'm not understanding these instructions, but I'm following them, so whatever. Doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, I actually think that butter is good. It's like warm. That's bad. Now it says, once the butter is pliable, shape it into a 4-inch by 4-inch square. There's a ruler in my kitchen. I'm gonna need a kitchen ruler. Somebody get me a kitchen ruler. Oh my God, now it's coming apart on my counter. What the actual hell? I don't like it. I'm handling it too much. I know I am. My hands are warm. My kitchen is warm. I feel like I've been tricked. Okay. 4-inch by 4-inch square. It's just going to have to be good, because I can't risk it coming apart any more than it already is. It is coming apart. That sucks. All right. I gotta get this stuff off my hands. I'll be right back, and then we will plop it into our plastic wrap and get it in the fridge so it stops all this melting crap. Be right back. I'm back. And the reason you want to use really good butter is that other butters have like more oil in them, so you don't really get that lovely, lovely butter flavor. Come here, baby butter. Ugh. Into the plastic wrap you go. I'm going to wrap you tightly, because air is the enemy of food. All right, that's about a 4x4. Whatever, it'll be pounded out flat later anyway. So 4x4 square, going into the fridge really quickly. And it says 10 minutes, no longer. What? Okay, I'm gonna put it in the fridge and we're gonna leave it in there until the dough comes out in 10 minutes. All right, I'll see y'all then. Hey guys, I'm back. I have my 10-minute chilled butter, more like 11, but it's fine, and my rough dough, which is not really sticking together as much as I thought it might, but that's okay, apparently. I'm going to turn this out. I'm going to work it just a little bit. It says roll it out to roughly a 7-inch square. Not really rollable at this point, but we shall see. I feel like I could use just a smidge more water, but I don't want to overdo it, so I'm just going to work with what I have for now. This is the craziest recipe I've ever read. 10 minutes, no more. Wonderful. It's going to need just a little bit more water. It's just not holding together. So give me a second. I'm going to get just another smidge of water. I'll be right back. Okay, I got some more water. I'm just going to sprinkle a little on top with my fingers and just give it a little work here, hoping I don't activate the gluten too much, because that means it would be very tough dough. I'm not after tough dough. I want a nice, smooth, pliable dough to wrap my butter in. Yes, I do have times that things don't work out. I scrap it and start over. This is not going to be one of those times, because it was just the need of add of a little bit of liquid to my flour to make it a bit more pliable. You see how it's starting to come together? That's what I'm looking for. This is not going to be as smooth as it would have been had I added enough water in the first place, but When you tell me 2/3 of a cup of water, I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of water. We'll be altering this recipe for those of you who watch. I'm telling you need a little bit more than 2/3 of a cup of flour. Or 2/3 of a cup of water. Sorry. That way we just start out on the right foot. No reason to get all bajiggity. This is probably going to be just about right. Technically, I should let it rest before I roll it out because it's going to try to spring back on me, but I don't have that kind of time. So we're going with it. If it's a crap puff pastry, then we know, but it will have more resting time in the fridge after I add the butter to it, so I'm not super worried about it being chunky or anything because it will hydrate while it's wrapped and stored. This is kind of ugly, but that's okay. Whew. Alrighty. So, I won't be using the trough method anymore, I'll tell you that. I know. Let me get all the water up off my counter here. Just move all that over. Alright. Nice dough ball. Gonna have to add a little flour so it does not stick now because it is a little bit damp. Now it says to roll this out. Now it's going to push back on me because it didn't rest. That's okay. It says roll it out to roughly a 7-inch square. What is it with people in inches in the kitchen? God, just guesstimate for me. The good news is it's rolling. The bad news is it's kind of pushing back at me. I think that will change as it's like rests in the fridge later. Once we get that butter in there. Butter. Then it wants me to press the butter into the dough at a 90-degree angle and wrap my dough around it. That's weird. It's probably bigger than 7 inches, but we're winging it, right? Alright, I got my square of butter that was kneaded and softened. 90-degree angle is like this. Fold the corners of the dough over the butter so they meet in the middle. And seal it. Big pat of butter in the dough. Flour the work surface lightly and flip the butter package over so the seams are down. We did that. Roll it out to a rectangle roughly 12 inches by 6 inches. Fold it. Okay, then we're going to laminate. Got it. Lamination means making layers. This is where it becomes puff pastry. And I think we are plenty wide enough. I'm not really going to worry about that. I don't like that there's now butter coming up through the dough. That's not cool. It's going to just make me mad. I have a feeling. I swear to God, this is the craziest recipe I've ever read. Okay, folding, folding. I got butter everywhere. That's a lot of butter to that amount of flour too, like dough. I have a feeling this puff pastry is not going to work out for me. Not going to work out for me. The butter is just, it's just everywhere. Oh, come on. Guess what I'm going to do? That's right. I'm going to wrap it up and pop it back in the fridge. And it's going to go sit. Because now I'm just upset. Alright, I'm probably going to start over as well, so prepare yourselves for that. Every now and then you just mess up. And it's okay to scrap it and begin again. Y'all keep that in mind, okay? It's always okay to scrap it and begin again. I think this butter is just too warm. It's really high quality butter, so I know that's not the problem. And I think there was not enough water in the dough. So we'll see what happens when it sits in the fridge for a little bit. Maybe that dough will become a little more pliable, but we're also going to start over. So give me like 2 minutes to regather my ingredients. I will be right back with you guys, and we'll pray for this one, okay? Okay guys, I'm back. Let's just start from scratch, shall we? So I have my salt, measuring spoons, all the things. It's at 2 cups plus a tablespoon of flour. Yes, I'm still clinging to her recipe because it should work. Like, there's no reason that it shouldn't work, except for the fact that the process is all bajiggity. So we're just going to mix it right here. 1 cup. Run out of flour. Oh my goodness, what a day. It's also raining outside, and as you know, weather can affect your baking, so there's 2. And a tablespoon. Love that sound. Alright, salt. We wanted, I think it was a teaspoon, yeah, a teaspoon of salt. Just put it right there on top, and then I'm going to just kind of fluff it in with my fingers. Alrighty, here we go. Round 2. I feel like I'm making pie dough, so I kind of know what I'm doing here. It kind of has the same general idea, I think. Because pie dough you also have to keep very cold as you make it. But this didn't really come together the way I feel like it should have. And again, I'm just doing that well that I did before because it worked better than the trough, which just kind of spilled water all over my counter and was very unpleasant. So just working the water into the flour and the salt. Besides, the bowl that I usually mix in is busy right now. I mean, I'm a baker. I'm always baking, right? Always cooking, baking. This kitchen is busy all the time. My husband's like, oh, what are you making today? I'm like, lots of good stuff. So just bear with me. Lots of good stuff. Oh my goodness. I actually started with a little over a cup of water this time. Last time I had 2/3 of a cup of water and I used it all. But this time I have a whole cup of water, a little over a cup, and I don't know if I'm going to use it all. I am going to keep going until it becomes like tacky and pliable, until it comes together. Like for real, not just chunky, shaggy messes. I know that the recipe said if it's shaggy, it's okay. But shaggy does not mean dry and separated. Okay? Shaggy means a dough that may have uneven edges. And it should hold together when you press it, right? Very easily. You shouldn't see a ton of dry flour. You're making a dough, not a maraca or whatever. I'm annoyed, can you tell? I am annoyed. This is starting to come together. I think it needs a little bit more water. We're not going to overdo it here. That's maybe another tablespoon, teaspoon, I don't know. I'm just pouring it in. Giving it a flip-a-rooney. That's still not enough water. Now the reason you refrigerate it is to let all the dry flour absorb all the water and to relax the gluten. So the gluten, so your dough doesn't, remember how it was like, I was rolling it, it was kind of like springing back to its original shape? Yeah, you don't want that. That's bad. At least I'm not sniffing like crazy, y'all. Benadryl is working out for me. I took some right before I started recording today. Whew. I can actually breathe out of my nose. It's amazing. Someone really wants my attention right now. I'm just going to bring this all the way together because I don't want the chunks that I was feeling in the last dough in this one. If it was up to me, I would have measured out the water, put all the flour in at once so it didn't have a chance to dry out at all. Like you wouldn't even have those little chunkies. But like I said, this is more like a pie crust bake, so I'm not going to knead the crap out of it. I'm just going to knead it until I feel like the water is distributed. All right, that looks so much better than the last one. Now I'm going to pop this one in the fridge for 30 minutes, put my butter in the freezer, and we will be back to assemble our puff pastry when I'm done. I'll see you all then. Hey guys, welcome back. I have my butter, which has been in the freezy, and it's very cold. I'm not doing what I did last time, okay? Don't expect that. We're not even gonna mess around with the flouring of the butter and the turning and all that stuff. I want it to stay in one piece as much as possible. I have 3 minutes left on my timer for my dough to come out of the fridge. We're gonna pull it out. I'm gonna pound this out. We're gonna pull that out, and then we're just gonna put our butter in it. I'm not playing around with it anymore. I am gonna flour my counter just so this stuff doesn't stick super badly. And then we're gonna pound the crap out of this, just get it to go together. Again, I don't have a French rolling pin. I have my mama's old rolling pin. It works just fine. Not trying to be super fancy. Just trying to get the butter into a usable shape, right? It has to fit on my dough. That's the idea here. Butter needs to fit on your dough. The reason I'm flouring my rolling pin is just so it does not stick to the butter. I'm not incorporating the flour into the butter. I just need a whole sheet of butter that is one cohesive unit, right? That's the idea. Just flouring because stickiness. No other reason. I don't know why one of my sticks of butter got longer than the other one. That's very funny to me. But I'm going to just make this like a sheet of butter, because that's what I'm trying to do, is a sheet of butter. And let's just be honest and say, you know, if the butter sticks to itself, like, who cares? It's butter and it should stick to itself. Otherwise, you're like, what are you doing? It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be a square of butter. Like, seriously. Trying not to work it too much. I don't want it to get hot. Don't want it to stick to my counter or my rolling pin. What I do want it to do is laminate in my bread without oozing out the sides. So guess what? We're also not going to fold it into a 4x4 square, because I think that was kind of dumb. I do. I think it was dumb. So forgive me if you are the writer of that recipe. I don't like your recipe. I think it makes things way harder than they need to be. All right. It doesn't even have to have perfect edges, you know, because I'm about to wrap it up in some dough. There we go. There's a square of butter that's kind of flaking apart on one side because I did not get enough flour between it and my board. That's okay. Or counter. I don't have a board. I have a counter. We're just going to give it another fold. Who cares? Who cares? As long as it's not sticking to anything. Yes, that was a crap ton of flour. I'm tired of my butter coming apart. So, there's my sheets of butter. I'm going to go get my sheet of pastry, and we're going to wrap our sheet of butter in our sheet of pastry, and we're going to move forward like none of this ever happened. I'm also going to grab that other one and see what it's doing, because it's been half an hour. Oh, fun. Be right back with you guys. Okay, I'm back. I have my pastry, or dough, whatever, that just came out of the fridge. Looking pretty soft and pliable. I'm gonna roll it out. Can't be messing with it all day. The other one is not even stiff anymore. It's like it's come back to being nothing. So gonna give it another half hour in there maybe. We'll see. I don't know what that was, but it looked gross. So I took it off my dough. All right, now my sheet of dough needs to be big enough to completely encase my butter. That's the idea, right? Right. Then we're just gonna roll them together. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I do prefer rough puff. I've only made it once and already I prefer it. All right, so the ends are coming up. I'm just gonna dust off the extra flour. The ends are coming up, and then I'm gonna actually take these ends and fold them over one another, like so, to make a nice little package. Nice package, just like that. Now this package, I'm gonna wrap and put back in the fridge, so the butter stays nice and cold and doesn't ooze out the edges when I start rolling out my dough again. cling film from earlier. I think my butter was just too warm last time. The dough was not wet enough. You have to have enough liquid in there with your flour. All right, we're gonna pop this in the fridge. We're gonna let it rest for 30 minutes. Then we're gonna start really laminating it. We're gonna start rolling and stuff. So I will see you guys in 30 minutes. Okay guys, I'm back. I have my puff pastry with it's actually just dough wrapped around some butter. So there it is. It's nice and cold. So this should work really well. I have enough flour here on my counter, I think. I don't need to add any more. So I'm just going to start rolling this out. Probably should have put it seam side down, but that's okay. I'm going to make sure this is really well sealed this time, just so my butter doesn't ooze out all over everywhere. Pinch, pinch, pinch. And this is pretty thick dough around this butter too, so we shouldn't have any show like we did last time. At least I'm hoping. All right, let's pray. So the way that puff pastry is generally done is you roll it. This looks so much better. You guys, so much better. I haven't even looked at the other one. So that should tell you something. Okay, I'm just gonna roll it flat. This is really where you get those super flaky layers, because you're folding the butter in on itself and you're making all these little layers with the butter. So then you fold it like this, like this, flip it over, and repeat, rolling it out. When I slice this after I get done laminating it, I should be able to see those individual layers of butter in there. And I shouldn't really have a lot of show. Like the butter shouldn't be popping up through my dough. That's bad. If you always do it seam side down, you're building dough on top of your butter as you fold it. So seam side down, fold, turn, seam side down, fold, turn. Got it? Fold, seam side down, roll. You do this several times, so get prepared. You're going to be a while. If it starts to get warm, wrap it back up, toss it back in the fridge. It is not going to hurt it at all. The colder the better. I don't know who thought a 4-inch slab of butter in some dough would be a good idea, that it wouldn't come out, but that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Because a pound of butter smashed into 4 inches makes a pretty big butter cube, as you all saw. But this is working, so we're getting there. It almost felt like the other butter was making its own dough, which is weird, but who knows. Now I have butter like showing, so I'm folding that into the inside. My pastry's starting to get like stiff, so guess where it's going? Back in the fridge. That's right. All right, so I'm gonna pop this back in the fridge. Got a lot of layers of like butter and dough in there. I'm hoping this works because I don't want to do it again. So we will have some nice, if all else fails, Jo will make a rough puff for her Brie, because that's what I do. Okay, Just gonna flatten it out. And then I'm gonna wrap it back up and pop it back in the fridge. Another 30 minutes. Then I will pull it out and probably do that 2 more times. Then I will wrap it really, really, really tightly and save it for tomorrow when I do the brie. Could not find a wheel of brie, so I actually have wedges of brie. So we're going to be kind of winging that too. All right, there you have it. There's our little puff pastry ball. Again, into the fridge. It's going to rest. I'll take it out, laminate it 2 more times, put it back in the fridge till tomorrow, and that's the dough that you'll see me working with. So you've seen the lamination process and all that jazz. I will see you guys tomorrow whenever we make our brie wrapped in puff. All right. But I'm really not sure if it's going to work at all. So we're going to start by unwrapping the puff pastry and plopping it out here on the counter. I'm not even sure how much flour I'm going to need for this. It is a hot freaking mess. You can actually see the butter coming up through the dough. So we're going to do our best. Today we're going to wrap some fruit and some almonds and some brie and some puff pastry and bake it. So hopefully our dough will, help us out there. Let me grab some flour and get my counter dusted. We'll get it out of here and get to work. I did not take my Benadryl today, so I'm sniffling. Forgive me. It will be a few sniffles here and there, maybe more. I don't even know. I have never done puff pastry. This was my first attempt. I know I can do a rough puff, but it's not exactly the same thing, you know? Not the same thing. So after I put this in the fridge yesterday, I gave it 2 more turns. You can see it, it's horrible. It's in terrible shape. The butter is like, it did not laminate well with the dough. I think there was more butter than there should have been. It was a lot of butter for one piece of dough that wasn't very big. And of course, I think I jacked up the dough the first time. I still have it. I haven't thrown it away yet. So it may be that we end up using that one and not this one. I really don't know what's going to happen. So let's just have some fun with it, shall we? We're going to have some fun with it. Oh, butter's all melting. There's like large swaths of butter in this dough. It's very cold, by the way. I let it sit in the fridge overnight. Just rolling it out with my rolling pin. It is not a happy dough. Do you see the butter here on the edge? I didn't really want that, so I didn't want the butter to kind of be peeping out of the dough. I have no idea how to fix it. So I'm going to try just laminating it one more time and see what that gets us. Kind of a pain in the butt if you ask me. But the recipe that I used, this is what it said to do. Did not make me super happy, but it is what it is, right? Rough puff is much easier. You just grate the butter, put it all together, and it just works for some reason. I don't know why. Look at me making a damn mess with my flour. I hope you guys are like playing along with me at home, but that you haven't wasted as much butter as I have, because it was a lot of butter. It was 2 whole boxes. I see the dough doesn't really come together very well. I'm guessing that's because I floured my board, but that's okay. I think I'm just going to go with it. Look at that. It's terrible. It's terrible. Just gonna try to keep these ends sort of squared up as I do this. Go flip it over and we're gonna pray, okay? Who knows? Maybe it will do exactly what it's supposed to do and I will have succeeded. I know you guys like watching me try stuff. We ended up abandoning the recipe in the puff pastry and just kind of going on our own because that recipe wasn't making any sense. Now I'm going to have to get this thin. It's very cold, very hard to work. But it is like thinning out some, so I guess that's a good thing. Whew! I did do this twice yesterday, like I said, popped it back in the fridge. So hopefully my dough is not overworked and my puff pastry will be puffy. One can only pray. This is like really hard. Whew! Doing my best, doing my best. It's starting to look a little more like a dough rather than a big blob of butter around some flour. If I put cheese in that, it's going to be so huge. It's so thick. But the good news is it's not sticking to my counter anymore. I don't know if that's because of the amount of flour that I've used or if it's because the butter is finally starting to kind of get in between the sheets of dough. We'll see, won't we? We will see. Oh. Yesterday was a terrible baking day. Like almost nothing that I did came out right. I was frustrated with this stuff. My husband was like, "Are you okay?" No, I'm not okay. Today was a terrible, terrible baking day. He said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I know how that can be. Not that he's a baker, but that, you know, he knows how a terrible day can be and how it can just kind of trickle down into everything else that you do. And it did. Yesterday was a terrible baking day. So, I need this to be a lot thinner. Like a lot thinner. I'm guessing that as it's warming up and kind of moving around, it's starting to let me roll it out a bit more. I'm guessing that's why we're getting to a bigger square. Woo! Oh my goodness. My arms are like, hello, thank you. You can stop anytime now. So what we're going to be doing is putting our preserves, not jelly or jam or any of that, you got to use preserves, into the middle of this piece of puff pastry, and then rolling the puff pastry up around it, and the cheese. So we'll have the cheese, which I couldn't find a wheel of, so I'm going to use a 7-ounce wedge that I will shape into cheese round. It said leave the rind on, so maybe we'll just wrap it as it is. You see all those little chunks coming off on my rolling pin? That's butter. And I'm not gonna cut this even. I'm just gonna use it as it is, as it lies here. What I don't want is for it to be too thick, and then we end up with this giant thing that has fluffed up around our cheese. I have a grease baking sheet and I'm heating my oven to 425. I think I'm going to turn this buttery looking side in to the middle, because the other side looks pretty doughy, which will be a good thing to hold the butter in the dough, maybe in the center here. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe this is a good sheet of puff pastry. I don't know. We shall see in just a few moments. I'm starting to get thin enough. That tells me my butter is probably coming to room temperature pretty quickly. I don't know if it's going to take the whole thing. Like, I don't know how many sheets this makes. Does it make 2 sheets or 1? I don't know the answer. But I'm guessing this is about the size of a sheet of puff pastry. At least the ones I've gotten from the store. They're a little squarer, but I only have like one ragged edge, I think. Doesn't look too terrible. Alright, let's go. This is a 7-ounce wedge. I have 2 of them. It says, you know, 8 ounces is the usual number here, but we're just gonna go with it. I didn't get a spoon for my preserves either. Whoopsie. The recipe that I read did say leave the rind on. So we shall see. All right, Brie cheese in the middle. Rind intact. Let me grab a spoon and then we can like spoon our preserves on there, throw in our almonds. I did chop up some almonds a little bit ago. And then wrap it. Hopefully it'll hold. Oh man, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got my spoon. I'm still out of breath. Whew. And my hands aren't wanting to open this jar right now. And I'm just using what I have left. It's approximately 1/8 of a cup. I'm not quite using 8 ounces of cheese, so I figure I can get away with a little under 1/4 of a cup of preserves. I love figs. Yes, I do. I have some dried ones. I could probably have made some more jam, but I mean, it's not like jam is hard, right? You don't know how to make jam? Fruit, sugar, pectin, heat, reduce, jar. That's pretty much it. It's not rocket science. All right, that looks pretty well covered in goo. Goo. Oh my goodness. My family, my germs. I say that way too often, don't I? Okay, well, we're just going to sprinkle this with some almonds. I like a little crunch with my sweet cheese. I'm also going to do an apricot one if I can roll that puff pastry out. If not, oh well. I'll just have fig. It'll be fine. I'm using about half of the almonds that I had chopped. I had chopped about 1.5 cups, so in there. Now it says to bundle the puff pastry around the cheese. I guess I'm making like a little packet. That would make sense to me. Because I'm making a packet, I'm going to tuck the end under just like that. All right, there is my Brie puff pastry bundle. Is it awesome? No? Does it look kind of pretty? Okay, maybe. All right, I'm gonna pop this in the oven. We'll get going on the other one. I'll be right back. Fingers crossed. Okay, I'm back. It's in the oven. Let's see here. How many minutes? 20 to 25. So we will say, what do you think, 23? 0 hours, 23 minutes, start. Alrighty, let's do the next one. It's kind of in the same shape as that one was. Probably a little worse. Alright, there it is. Y'all stop me from running over there and looking in the oven. Say, no, Joe, just leave it alone. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. Alright, this says, like, just bundle it up around the cheese. My worry is if it actually puffs, it's gonna like come all undone, and then I'm gonna have a bigger problem in my oven than just butter. Oh, can you imagine? Like the cheese and the preserves like running all down my oven. I cannot even right now, like no. I'm just pinching it together as well as I can on top because I do not want this packet to open it up. That would be very bad. kind of a package, kind of not. Bundled like a little baby. Like a little baby. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it in that plastic wrap sitting right there and pop it in the fridge to rest so the butter stays cold, as cold as it can be anyway, from this point out. Get off my plastic wrap. Stupid sticker. All right, I think that will hold. Whatever. Wrapping it, slapping it in the fridge, and then once that comes out, I'll put this one in. I'll see you guys when that one comes out of the oven. We have 8 minutes. I'll be right back. All right, you guys, my timer just went off. Gonna pull our puff pastry out of the oven. It's brown, but it's also swimming in a pool of butter. So we shall see. We shall see. You probably cannot see all the butter on the tray. Let me close the oven. But it's like, it's pretty much swimming in a pool of butter. Great. And I don't even know if it's done on the inside. I'm not really sure how to test puff pastry to see if it's done. And I'm hoping just that little bit of butter that lot of butter that escaped did not jack up my bake. So I'm just gonna move it to a plate. Then I'm gonna wipe this thing clean and grab the other one. I ended up popping it in the freezer. Once I get the butter like mopped off here, I will show you how much it's like a lot. It's like a lot of butter. Is it the whole 2 pounds or whole pound of butter? I don't think so, but it's a lot. Look at that. That's like saturated with hot butter. Hot butter! It's like hot fuzz, only it's butter. Nice. Real freaking nice. All right, I'm gonna do this one more time because this had to be greased anyway. It did say rub it with butter, but what the hell, right? Butter has oil in it. Not a lot, this good butter, but a little bit. Probably should have popped that one in the freezer before I baked it, just to stop this from happening. Oh, what a mess. Okay, I'm gonna go grab the other one. And we're gonna put it on there. We're gonna put it in the oven for the same 23, I think I left it 25 minutes. In the meantime, maybe we'll cut into that one. I don't know. Whatever. I'll be right back. We go grab that Brie. All right, y'all. This is a lot stiffer than it was, so hopefully that will be my saving grace. Popping it right in the middle. Again, just trying to make sure that doesn't puff open. And I'm gonna go put this in the oven and we'll set a timer. We'll see what happens. Yay! Be right back. Alrighty. Brie 2 is in the oven. And this time I have the light on so I can kind of keep an eye on it. I did put another baking pan on the shelf beneath just in case the butter ran off the side. I didn't want it in the bottom of my oven. Talk about a smoke fest. My husband would be like, "You set the house on fire again, didn't you?" Well, I never set the house on fire, but you know, it's all about the smoke. So let me grab a knife, and we're just gonna kind of cut into this. I don't even know what's gonna happen right now, but it does flake a little bit. It's not terrible. I don't think it's done in the middle. It's still a little gooey, which is not good. My guess is it needs to go back in the oven. But, I mean, the layers aren't bad here on top. Look, it's kind of flaking apart like a puff pastry should. But it's a little bit dry. I'm guessing that's because the butter escaped. Yeah, it's not done. Needs another maybe 15 minutes. Uh-oh. All right, put the other one in. Let me go grab a baking sheet. We're gonna pop it back in. Maybe on top of the rack, or on top of the pan that's on the rack underneath. We'll see. All right, so I'm gonna do that. I'll be right back with you guys in a few minutes. Well, when they both come out, okay? See you then. Hey guys, I'm just here to chat for a second. I think that my puff pastry did not get done in the middle because I folded so many layers of the dough on top. Excuse me, on top of one another. That was gross. But I mean, I don't know how the bundle's gonna do. I'm really afraid it's gonna pop open because, like a sacadoro, because it's just kind of pinched together at the top. So far, there's no butter on that tray, so maybe that freeze really did it some good. I did put the other one on a piece of parchment paper on a tray with sides and then slid it into the tray that's on the bottom. So hopefully that'll work. I am kind of encouraged by the fact that there were flaky layers on top. I just kind of hope that goes through the whole thing, and I hope that taking it out of the oven early didn't mess it up too bad. I'm guessing same temperature as bread. I'm going to go for 195 degrees in the thickest part of the dough. For the bundly one, that's probably right in the top in the middle. And then for the one on the bottom, it's where I folded it over, like right in that area. So I will be using my thermometer this time. We will not be pulling raw dough out of the oven. My timer has about 15 minutes. So I'm going to leave the one in the bottom probably 7 minutes, no longer, and then check it. And then if need be, put it back in. So I will see you guys once I take them out and they're actually done, and then we can cut into one and see what happens with the cheese and the preserves. And then I'll taste it because I'm dying to get a taste of this. So join me, I'll be back. Hey guys, I'm back. Popped out of the oven again. It's done. I checked it with a thermometer. We're not getting any doner than this. It took it a full 10 minutes extra. So, and again, I'm guessing it's because I had that really thick fold right there on top. The other one, I'm slinging stuff around the kitchen. The other one, actually, there's almost no butter leakage. So, make sure you pop it in the fridge or freezer before you bake it. That's what I'm coming away with from that. There's a little bit, but it's not like a ton of butter on the tray. I mean, it's just right around it. So, yay! Win! This one actually lost some more butter. Oh, this poor puff pastry. Okay, now we're going to cut it and see what it looks like inside. The other one I think I'll use for a photo. I'll just hold it with my hand. Why not? Whew, it's hot. Alright, the puff pastry down right by the Brie is kind of gummy, but it's cooked, like it's finished cooking. I tested the temperature, it was at 195, so we're just going to go with it as it is. And I'm guessing it's because of that jam around the puff, or around the cheese, that's making it look a little gummy. This is really hot. So, there it is. The cheese is hot, so it's running out, but you can see the cheese in there. Looks pretty tasty. It's got the layers, so I don't know if all that butter leakage that we had get back in there is a bad thing or a good thing. Like, I don't think it mattered too much. It's a little bit dry, but that's okay. I think I need to plug that hole. So I'm just gonna stuff this piece right in there to stop that cheese from oozing out, because I have some in this piece, so I'm gonna go with that. Yes, I just cobbled it together like a crazy person. Wow, that looks really tasty. The bottom did not burn. It got brown, but it did not burn, which is, I mean, I think that's good. And when I opened it, I cut through the rind. So I think that's another reason that it's kind of oozing out there. Get in there. Stop that cheese. First, let me have some. I'm going to put it on this piece right here. And as hot as it is, we're going to take a bite. Oh. Mmm. Dang. That's really excellent. The dough tastes like it's butter saturated. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Well, the bottom did anyway, but the rest is pretty good. I think I would probably roll the dough out a whole lot thinner if I did this again. Like a whole lot. There's my oven timer, but I know from experience, I need to leave it in there 10 minutes. So let me go reset that. I'll be right back. Alright guys, so unless you want to see the other one, I mean, why would you? It's done. We're done. You know, we'll watch this twice. We're done. So remember, roll it out thinner, like a lot thinner, probably half as thick as it was. And don't like fold it over itself, cut it in half if you have to. Just get one layer of puff pastry around that cheese. Probably should have done that. But you live and you learn, you bake and you learn, and you move on, right? So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, it's okay. We have next week. And I mean, it wasn't a total success, so whatever. I don't like to fail, so I will be trying this again. But yeah, I hope that y'all learned something by cooking with me. There's a flaky little layer of pastry hanging out there. So share this video and tag me. I'm at WriteJoeMichaels everywhere on social media. I will pop on over and say hi and thank you, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen. Even though I am a hot mess and things are just kind of a mess. I mean, it's 2020, everybody's kind of a mess, right? Actually, I think this is going to air in 2021, so either way, 2020, it is now December. See my tree? Very nice. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I will see you guys next week.